What's going on, everybody? Oh, those are fighting words, Dante. I know, with a grin. But what's worse, the Vikings or your ability to play Madden? And we're never going to play again, just so I have that. Yeah, excuses. Whatever. Yep. I'm a little busy this time of year, but talk to me this summer. Well, looks like mostly everybody made it back from break. So that's positive. Nope. It's mostly the whole class. So how was your break? Fantastic. Wow. So yours was fantastic as well. Yeah. Relive some Steelers playoff losses. Still waiting. How many of you witnessed the Steelers win? One? Okay, two. Pfft. Yeah. I got nothing, nothing. My team sucks, and I understand that. I'm okay with it. So, guess what? Thursday, we're going to have a test over what we've covered in QuickBooks so far. And the test will be just like your assignments. I'll give you a QuickBooks file and a bunch of things to do, and you just prove to me you can do them. Hmm? It won't be too bad. Maybe 25 questions. Actually, you should study from now until Thursday the entire time. Don't even stop to sleep. So here you can see a summary of the concepts that we covered in each chapter. Obviously, the last two have been where we've gotten into the most specific stuff throughout 5 and 6, and then just the stuff we touched on in 3 and 4. But if you've been able to do the stuff in the assignment so far, no problem. Honestly, it should be really easy. Just prove to me you can do things. So if you want to open up a QuickBooks file, I'm just going to go into Jackson. Let's just prove that we know what to do. Restoring or saving a backup. Do we got to touch on that? Huh? Okay. How do I restore a backup? Right. File, opener, restore company. and then restore a backup company, go through the steps and find the file that I provide you. Hit next, and then remember in this step, put your name in the file. Bloop, 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 bloop. Spin, little wheel, spin. Come on, you can do it. Oh, for crying out loud, I'm just going to hit cancel. Anywho, our company would pop up. Yes. I chose not to put a password on that fake file that I was just using for that process. How do I save a backup? Right. Go to backup company, create local backup. And remembering that the file that you save is going to have a date on the end of it. So the file that you need to give me should have the date on the end of it. So then our backup is saved. Go find wherever you put it, upload it to the Dropbox. So let's go into our customer center for a second. How would I go about deleting one of my customer accounts here? Just right click on it and hit delete. Delete customer. But hey, if we've done something with them or if they have a balance, guess what? We probably shouldn't do that. We should just make them inactive. Just hide them in the background. What if I wanted to delete or void that specific invoice there? So then we're going to have to open up the invoice to get into it. Say if I just double clicked on invoice 5130. And then now I can right click once I'm within the invoice and click delete invoice or void invoice. Now you see the balance goes to nothing. You see it shows up there with a zero balance. What if I wanted to change any of the information in one of my customer accounts here? Come up here and click the little pencil. And then we could go in and change whatever we wanted to here. Did you read my phone number there, Dante? And then I change whatever information, or there were the various tabs So that was just the information about them. If we go under payment settings, then we can change, say, their credit limit, or we can change their credit terms, what kind of discount we're going to offer them. Wow, 8% discount. Holy crap. That's a little excessive. If we wanted to keep track of their credit card information for automated billing purposes, we could certainly do that. We go under sales tax settings, we can set up the default sales tax that's going to show up on the bottom of our invoice. And then additional info just has some extra crap. We have a sales rep, we can add that in there. Just some specific things about them. And just hit OK to go back out. What if I wanted to add a new customer from scratch? Right click. So we could right click and go to new customer, or we could come up here to the top and go to new customer. Either way, however you get there, doesn't really matter as long as you get there. Same thing with the editing customer. We could just right click and click edit customer. So we just have a blank one and we just would fill in whatever information that I give you to fill in. So we talked about the internal control that we shouldn't delete a customer that has a balance. Same thing goes for the vendor center. If we were in the vendor center, all this stuff is going to look the same. You know, we're just looking at people that we bought stuff from rather than sold it to. So the same thing, we've got all the vendor information in there. We could double click or right click to edit to go in and change any of the information about our vendors. And then we've got same thing, various tabs of information that we can keep track of. If we wanted to add a new one, we could right click and click new or go up to new vendor at the top of the page. So same thing as we looked at within the customer center. So we can't delete somebody that's got a balance, or we shouldn't do that. What were some other internal controls that we talked about in those first chapters? And a hush falls over the crowd. So for example, if I opened up a blank invoice, what are some of the things QuickBooks is going to stop me from doing within this invoice if I do them wrong? Okay. So let's just say I come in here and enter an item. If I try to sell too many of them, it's not going to let me do that. Under quantity, I accidentally typed a Q. Hey, it's not going to let me do that. And it's not going to let me move on until I fix it. Anything else? Right. What if I typed in December 33rd? Hey, wait about that. Hold on. We shouldn't do that either. So a few different internal controls without the invoice that keeps us from doing something silly or something we're not supposed to do. Let's go back within our customer center for a second. So remember, we've got the two tabs here. We've got the customer tab and we've got the transactions tab. In the transactions, we can go and list things by whatever type of transaction we've done, whether we've done a sales receipt, we've done an invoice, we've done a credit memo, etc. So how can I change the information that's going to show up in this window here? So right now when I have invoices selected, customer shows up, number shows up, date shows up, amount shows up. How can... Right, so come over here to the right side, right click it, and go to Customize Columns. And then within Customize Columns, we can choose what do we want to see. So if I had sales reps, it would be maybe more important to have the sales rep selected there. Maybe I would see a trend if all of Joe's customers owe us a bunch of money. Is he falsifying his sales? Is he not doing proper credit granting practices that we're selling to a bunch of people that aren't paying us? You know, maybe that's some information we could find if we utilize that column when looking at some of the stuff. How do I go about creating some reports? Come up here to Reports on the File menu. And if we want some reports that QuickBooks already has done for us, we can go to the Reports Center. Company and Financial, we can find our financial statements. So we got our profit and loss statement. Look at if we're making any money. We got specifics on our income expenses. We've got our balance sheet. Looking at our members of our accounting equation, assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. And lots of additional reports going into those things. Under customers and receivables, we can see who owes us money and for how long, and a bunch of things going on along with that. There's also the open invoices report that you guys had to use in the last unit, or before today's assignment. Under sales, we can look at specifics as far as what customers are buying certain things, what items we're selling and how much. Another thing we had you look up, sales by item summary. Do things with your payables, looking at how long you've owed money and when those are coming due, etc., etc. Under accounting and taxes, there's a trial balance that we had asked you guys to run in Chapter 4. So those are a bunch of reports that QuickBooks provided for us. What if we want to create one out of thin air? We don't want to go by the default reports that QuickBooks has done for us. How do I do a custom report? We called it a custom transaction detail. Click Reports. Come down here to Custom Reports. Fourth one from the bottom. Transaction Detail. And then we can choose what filters we want to put into their report. What information do we want to pull out of here? So for instance, we can set a time period. And then we can use the filters to search for some information. What do we want to look for? Come on, it's Tuesday. We've been back for a day plus. Wake up, guys. Okay. Any amount or a specific type? So how would I put in just invoices in this report? There we go. So we want to find the filter transaction type. So we got to scroll all the way through our list. They made it a little more complicated in this version of QuickBooks and added a lot more stuff as far as in this filter window. So we would go down to transaction type, and then in the drop-down box, choose what type of transaction are we looking for? Are we looking for checks? Are we looking for bills? Are we looking for invoices? Whatever we're doing, if we're looking for invoices, we'll just select that. And then you see all our filters are there on the right side. We want an invoice from this year greater or equal to $1,000. If I hit OK, holy crap. We don't have a lot of small invoices, so that's given us a lot of data. So if we wanted to narrow things down, we could look for bigger numbers. I guess it depends upon what information do we want. Why are we running the report? You know, I can look at this and see who are my big hitters. Who am I getting a majority of my business from? You can see Ameristay International. Lots of invoices over $1,000. The Oaklawn Hotel, Greenleaf Suites. These are the people that are doing many transactions at many dollars. So I want to keep them happy. So using these reports to run your business. I understand that a majority of you guys aren't going to be accountants. So then what I want you to get out of this is then, what do we do with all this gobbledygook information? Or how do I know where to get it? So that's why we account for all this stuff. I mean, one of the reasons is regulations, tax purposes. You got to keep track of your income and your expenses so you can file your taxes. You also got to be able to use the information to run your business. I mean, if you're just creating your financials at the end of the year with a pile of receipts, that did you no good the previous 365 days. This information can be valuable. So that's how we do a custom report. Hint, hint, hint. That'd probably be a good thing to know how to do. The other thing is just to be able to find information. So in chapter 4, we asked you some questions. You know, what was this invoice number? Who owes you the most right now? What was the balance of this account? You know, just being able to find that information. You know, when you're going into your customer or your vendor center, you know, remember that you can sort by these columns. So the highest amounts will go to the top. You just got to double click on the column. So you can find those balances pretty quickly that way. It's not like you're searching through the whole list and have to remember each number as you run across it. You know, using these transactions tabs, you know, if you're looking for a specific invoice or a specific type of thing, just being able to click on them and see what pops up and cycle through it. And once again, if we're looking for a specific number, sorting by these columns. Another cool thing, you can click Edit and Find, and it brings up a window similar to those filters in the custom transaction detail report. So if you're looking for a specific thing or a specific invoice number, a specific check number, you can search through it in here as well without going through all the steps of creating that report. So a little handy tool that I didn't necessarily tell you before, but is available. Talked about adding, we talked about deleting, we talked about making them inactive. How would I add an account to my general ledger? So when we create our QuickBooks, it's going to give us a bunch of default accounts. But that might necessarily be every account that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And we're going to have to create something that we run across that we don't have. So how do I find out what are all the accounts in my general ledger? Where can I go on my homepage? Right, just go to Chart of Accounts in the upper right corner. So then here's everything from our general ledger. Our assets, our liabilities, our owner's equity, our revenues, our expenses. All that fun stuff that we love so much. So how would I go about putting something else in here? Right, just right-click and new, similar to the other places that we were. So then we just decide what type of account am I adding? Do I need an income account? Do I need an expense account? Am I doing a bank account, a liability account, or in the drop-down box? We've got some other options as well. So let's just say I'm adding an expense account. I would select the expense account. Hit continue. See, expense shows up in the very top. If we're using account numbers, similar to the practice set, you remember everything had an account number, 10,000, 10,100, 200, etc., all the way through. We would put that in there. And then we just title it whatever it is. What account should we add? What expense account? Sure. I don't like that account, but I guess we can put it in there. Everything should have a title. Whatever it is, track what you have. Miscellaneous, who knows what you could be putting in there. Description, that's a good question. Oh, I picked the wrong number. Okay, so I didn't really go with the number system very well there, but. Oh, and they already had miscellaneous, but. Whatever the lesson is, just knowing how to do it. Any questions on our chart of accounts? Okay, if we're a merchandiser, we're going to have inventory. How do we edit or add items to our inventory? Go down to items and services and what we had to do for today. So there we've got the list of all our stuff. Let's say that item 118, what if we wanted to change the price? Could double click on it. We could right click and go to edit. And then we'd come in here and just change the price to whatever we wanted it to be. Hit OK. You see it shows up now in the list with our new price. When we put it into our first sales receipt or first invoice, that's what's going to pop in there for us. What if I start selling a new product that I never ever sold before? How do I get that in my QuickBooks? Right click and go to new. And then we'd select inventory part for an inventory item, and we'd come in and just fill in whatever we're selling. What's something we would sell to a hotel? I think we already got an item for soap. Okay. We fill in what it costs us, make sure we have our cost of goods sold account. We put in what we want to charge for them. And then our income account, so that when we sell them, the expense account goes to cost of goods sold, and then the revenue would go to sales. And then you see that item shows up on our list. Where do I need to go if I want to give one of my employees a raise? Click on employees and go to our employee center, similar to our customers and our vendor center. So let's say Jennifer there, I want to give Jennifer a raise. So we'll right click and go to edit. Then this will open up a window similar to the customer center, the vendor center again. We come here down to payroll info and put in Jennifer's new wage. And hit OK, and that would be factored in the next time we run payroll, which is coming up in chapter 7 or 8. I can't remember which one. Any questions on editing our wage rate? You got that down, Dante? Okay. Then chapter 6, we got into vendor items. So how do I create a purchase order if I want to tell my vendor that I want to buy some stuff? What was that? Yeah, just click on purchase orders up here in the upper left corner. And then fill in what we want to buy. Let's see here. Let's go to Omni Incorporated. And we're going to buy Well, we just created those bed sheets. I guess we better get some in our inventory. How about 250 of them? Once we're done, hit save and close. A couple weeks down the line, all those bed sheets show up. We also get an invoice telling us how much money we owe. What do we got to do to show that we have that inventory and we got to pay for it? Right. Receive inventory with bill. So we'll type in who we wanted to buy them from. They'll go, hey, guess what? You got purchase orders. We'll go, yes, I know. Click the checkbox against the purchase order that we just created. Hit OK. And you can see there my 250 bed sheets show up. On the reference number, we'll type in whatever invoice we were given. Fill in our credit terms if they were any different in the bottom left-hand corner here. And if our items changed, we'll make that adjustment as well. What if we only got 240 of them? And now you see my balance, or the amount that I owe, changes based on what I received. So what journal entry is going on here? What do you guys think? What am I getting out of this? We're getting inventory. So what's happening to inventory? We're debiting inventory. It's getting bigger. It's going up. So we're showing that we have that inventory with a debit. What do we credit? Right. So by entering in a bill, we're showing that liability, that we have that accounts payable. So accounts payable is increasing as well with a credit. Once we're done, hit save and close. And we have a bill. A few days later, I'm going to take out my checkbook and I'm going to pay off that bill. How can I show in QuickBooks that we paid that bill? Hey, follow the next step down the line of our flow chart and click Pay Bills. Come down here, find my bill for Omni Incorporated, click in the little checkbox. What if I'm paying within the discount period? Right, click Set Discount down here. Fill in whatever my discount is. In this case, if it was 2%, $48. And then use the account purchase discounts. Hit done. Now you see my discount got filled in, the amount that I'm going to have to pay, then adjusted based on that discount that I'm taking. Enter the date in the bottom left corner, have a signed check number. Then once we're done, click Pay Bills, type in whatever check number that I gave you. Okay, so that was a bill for inventory. What if I just received a bill for my day in, day out expenses? Let's say I got my insurance bill for the year. How would I get that in here? Once again, we'll just go to enter bills now. Let's say we go to this national insurance company. And we'll say $5,000. What else do I got to do? Right, so we got two tabs. We got items and we got expenses. So for our day in, day out expenses of being in business, we'll just use the expenses tab and type in insurance expense. And then if we wanted to be specific, we could put it in the memo. And we're done, hit save and close. Then we could go into pay bills later and once again pay it just like before. But that was a two-step process. We had to go to enter bills and we had to go to pay bills. What if I just wanted to do it in one step and just pay it off without creating the bill first? Yeah, just go to write checks. So down here under banking, if I don't want to do all that extra work to track the bill, I'll just pay for it. So I'll come down here to write checks, type in who I'm paying, and then down on the bottom here, just like the enter bills window, use the expense account and in the memo put in whatever I'm doing. And just record it that way. So what's happening here, accounting-wise? What's my debit and credit? We're paying it, so it's credit cash. Right. Whatever we're using under the expense account, that's our debit. Remember, expense account's almost always debited. So debit advertising expense, credit cash is what's happening here. If we were in the pay bills window, it'd be debit accounts payable. We're paying off that liability, credit cash. So that bill's getting smaller. And the last thing we talked about in chapter 6 was what if we return something that we bought? How do we go about returning it? Right, so we'll go into enter bills here, and we've got two options up in the upper left corner, bill or credit. So if we're returning something, we just select credit and enter in the information. So let's say we sent back some of those bed sheets that we just bought because they sucked. And we just enter that in. and hit save and close. Questions, comments, concerns on anything we just went through? If you can do all that, life's fine. So like I said, the test will be just like your assignments. I'll give you a QuickBooks file. I'll hand you out a series of questions. Some will be carrying transactions. Some will be running reports or looking up information and just short answer questions. So it'll be just like the assignments that we've done so far. You can do all this. Should be a breeze.